So in this video, I'm going to show you how password cracking would work in the virtual environment. This assumes that you have physical access to the computer. And what we're doing here is we're booting from a live CD. As you notice from up here, this is my Windows computer, VM Executive 1. So it's meant for my executive. My other machine is meant for staff. So I keep the logins separate. And it kind of duplicates the real world. So normally this would boot up in Windows, but what I did is I went to the optical drive and I added the Kali ISO. If you remember, the Kali ISO doesn't install in VBox. You have to use the OVA import and appliance. In this case, what we're doing is we're using the ISO file. So you really need both in order to do the hacking in the cyber range. So what I did is I added that to the CD-ROM. You could see it's checked off, and when I booted it, it came up. Um, it came up in the boot menu, and from here you can see it's labeled as live, which would be booting from the CD drive, and the entire operating system works off the CD instead of the hard drive. An advantage to that is it unlocks the computer's hard drive so Kali can run hacking tools against it and do things like cracking passwords. There are some utilities, and there are utilities on Kali where you can reset the password, change the password. We saw that with the Windows accessibility vulnerability tools, where we went in there and we used the net user command to change the administrator passcode. That works, but then the password is changed. Administrators would know that something's wrong. Chances are they just fix it, but they also might start worrying that somebody went in there and changed it, and that somebody wasn't another staff member, but perhaps a hacker. You might get lucky and they might just think that nobody admitted that they changed the passcode. So there's no doubt that password resets work, but then what we're doing is we're cracking the password. When you crack the password, you use something called a rainbow table, which allows you to quickly go through and actually discover what the actual password is. So I'm going to start this while I'm talking. We're booting into the live CD. All right, so yeah, with password cracking, it actually tells you what the passcode is. So back in the days of Windows XP, I actually used this a lot in order to change passcodes. At that time, in my network at work, passcodes were changing, and I suspect now that we were being hacked in a minor way. And what I would do is I'd go out and change the administrator passcodes and log back in. I also was helping out faculty members and students who had forgotten their passcodes, and the OffCrack tool, which I'm going to show you, was really useful for me, and I used it lots and lots of times. Well, since then, OffCrack has a version that costs $250, and I believe Microsoft has started encrypting the passcodes. So what this means is that I can still run the tool, but it doesn't actually show the passcode. So what we're doing here is we're going to imagine that we have the $250 version, which can handle encryption, and then we're just going to run it so you can see how it would work. And I'll show you a JPEG that shows what the result is when somebody actually does crack the password and discover it. So I'll let this continue to boot here. Kali's loaded now, so let's go to OffCrack, go to the applications, and we can find OffCrack. Start that up. OffCrack has its own live CD that you could use directly. And one of the advantages of Kali is that they compile all that for your system. So that way you can crack the passcodes directly from Kali with all the packages, not just OffCrack, but John the Ripper, and Metasploit, and a ton of other tools. So Kali is great because it has all that. I just wanted you to know that you can go in there and download just Offcrack itself. So I'm going to crack the passcode. Let's see. That didn't work, and that could be because the drive is not mounted. So I'm going to go to Files. I'm going to close this. And these are the Linux files that are in Kali. I'm going to go to another location. And here's my 20 gigabyte VBox volume. So the computer itself, and then the Windows volume. So I'm going to open that up. And there we go. Now the file has been mounted. One idea that you need to be aware of is that Kali and Linux in general uses a different file system, ext version 2 and ext version 3. There might even be a version 4. One thing you have to be mindful of is that Windows uses the NTFS file system. So when you boot from Kali, you have to mount the drive and set up the file system. So we've done that. Let's find the SAM. It's in Windows System 32. And then the config folder. There are two files. SAM is the Security Accounts Manager, which is where the passwords are, the encrypted passcodes. And then there's another file called System. So they're ghosted out here, but here you can see the SAM file. And the system file. So I'm going to open that. And then I'm going to crack it. Here are various users which are disabled that are on my Windows workstation. And here's fedadmin. That's the user account that I use when I log in on this version of the CyberRange. You can see here it's doing a brute force attack. It's done. And then the passwords found. You can see that for the accounts, didn't find it. Now, I tried simpler passcodes. I have a long passcode, and sometimes if you have a passcode that I think is 14 digits, with today's technology, that can't be cracked. People can't reverse engineer it so they can actually see the passcode. Here's a screenshot that shows what it would look like if you did find it. And you could see on this particular computer, there's an administrator passcode. I think that account is disabled by default. And here's like user 1, user 2. There's an ABC123 user, and then quite a long passcode. And then over here, you can see the NT passcode that would actually be there. So because this is cracked, you can actually read the passcode, and then you could log in the same way the user does. So again, I think the problem here is that I don't have the $250 version. Otherwise, we'd be able to see the passcodes here. But I did want you to know about Offcrack and how to use it. And then maybe one day, after you do enough ransomware and get thousands of dollars in Bitcoin, you could purchase your own version of Authcrack for your legal purposes. Thank you for watching this video.